Ready?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to
Hi.
another episode of our podcast, video, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of different times thinking about like what would be a good theme for like our podcast or like a YouTube show, and I think like we really struggled with it, and eventually we were just kind of like, we have a lot of like fun ideas, I feel like, and we'll just kind of try them all, and then what people like and what they don't like we'll just figure out, and hopefully people like it, and if they don't, then I don't know. You won't know about it because you're not listening anyways.
It's true.
So last time we talked a little bit about gis and the gis that were like the worst, basically like the worst colors and styles. And this time we were going to focus on something else that's the worst.
Just people.
The worst people. And I guess like the worst humans that you're going to encounter at Jiu Jitsu.
Yes.
And who they are and what it is that they're doing. And if you see like right over Jena's, I guess in reality, stage right shoulder, you're going to see a fluffy little tail, and that is Cash, who's our Shiba Inu.
Yes.
And in the first episode, he was surprisingly cool
Docile.
about us recording, and
He's got his head under the cabinet. He's trying to get his bone out.
Jenna remarked right before we started, she's like, he's not going to be cool about this one. And it was just like, you could feel it. Like there's an air that's like...
He's anxious about
like,
things.
You could tell he's like really trying to get whatever's underneath there.
Okay, I might have to get it.
It's fine. If you see her disappear in a little bit, we either cut this and she went and got it, or like she just went and got it anyways.
Okay.
The people at Jiu-Jitsu that you're going to encounter that are the worst. So I'll let you kind of get started.
I mean, where do I begin? My mind is actually blank right now. I had all these ideas and I didn't okay, so...
I think that one of the things that you had brought up is
oh my God, my mind just went blank on it. And we've been talking about this forever. So, yeah.
The person that tapes their fingers, perhaps, is one that you had brought up earlier whenever we were on a walk.
Yeah, I mean, not that they tape their fingers. Like, we all have to tape our fingers now and then. But it's like you show up, like, right on time for class and then spend, like, 20 minutes taping your hands and taping your fingers just so you miss warm-ups, or I don't know, you think it looks cool to have all your fingers taped.
And so I'm not
really sure.
This will be my portion where it's like a public service announcement about finger taping. As somebody, which I don't know if you can really see, I think in the camera, like I'm looking at the screen right now, you can tell how crooked some of my fingers are.
Yeah,
right?
They don't look good.
Yeah. I was born with these like childlike piano player hands, and then I've mangled them. And I would blame a lot of the mangling on taping my fingers. So I was sold on the principle of, and you know who sold me on this? John.
Taping your fingers. Oh, yeah, our friend. Yeah, one of our friends, our old training partners.
What's funny is he doesn't even tape his fingers anymore. And he was like this like staunch proponent.
One, with all the best technique on taping, and he's going to spend an hour taping his fingers.
Yeah, he was like a real princess about it. And anyways, the thing is like when you would tape your fingers, the principle was like, it keeps you from squeezing as hard as you can. You save your muscles, and it also keeps your fingers like nice and strong.
Makes your hands weak.
It makes your fingers very, very weak. And what you'll find is you're going to start getting a lot more injuries, and then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You need the tape to like make grips.
Yeah, it's true.
You basically can't. You feel like you almost can't do jiu-jitsu without your hands being taped. And I was dislocating my fingers like.
At least once a week.
The worst was we went out to dinner one night and I picked up like a cloth napkin.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And it got like stuck underneath the plate. And whenever I pulled it out, like my finger dislocated. Like pulling a cloth napkin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
like the one time you were closing your phone, like locking the screen on your phone, and then it dislocated that way.
That was pretty bad, too. A lot of first world dislocations. Cloth napkins, phones, yeah.
Opening a car door.
Opening a car door. So I don't tape my fingers anymore, and I haven't dislocated them in a very, very long time. And I can actually make grips again.
Yeah. I do tape. I tape my fingers when I need to. I heard it. I jammed it, whatever. But I do realize that most of the time I get annoyed with the tape halfway through like sparring and I just start ripping it off in between because I just don't like it. But it depends. Maybe if I had good tape.
So for me, one of the it's kind of like an extension of this person that's one of the worst people for me. And I always have people ask me this, and this is okay. Like, I'm not going to hammer anybody that's like, whenever you get ready to roll, somebody's like, do you have any injuries or are you okay? It's like, you healthy or whatever. I'm always like, yeah, I'm fine. Even if like I have a broken collarbone and like a bulging disc in my neck and all my fingers are dislocated. I don't care. Like, I'm going to always say the same thing, which is like, I'll take care of me.
Yes.
Like,
and especially because like learned over time that if I rely on like if I'm like, oh, like I hurt this or whatever, it's like no matter what, it's gonna get re-hurt or tweaked in that round. But if I just like don't say anything, everybody's sparring like it's normal, and then like and I'm just looking out protecting myself, like I feel like I'm better at protecting me than like my partner trying to protect me.
Totally. And I think one of the things that goes along with that is it's not the person that asks. It's the guy that like when you're getting ready to roll, he's like, hey man, careful on my neck, my elbows, my knees, my feet. And you're like, all right, cool. Thanks for making me feel like a dick for like any submission that I catch now, you know? And then like you get them in a shoulder lock. Oh yeah, my shoulders. Like, the reason why my elbows hurt is because my shoulders are so bad.
Yeah, it's true. True. Or yeah, they have to like it, and they only like complain about the injury. It's like when you're starting to get a good position, like it doesn't have to be a submission. Like you're just like, oh, passing the guard, like, oh, my elbow, like I couldn't frame because like whatever or something, I don't know. But they have an excuse for why they're losing.
I remember I was a blue belt and Dustin Dennis. Shout out to Dustin Dennis if he's still alive. He was doing a private lesson with me actually, and I was complaining because my knee, I like sprained my knee or something like that, and I was like, Dustin, do you have any injuries, man? And he goes, yeah, but nobody cares. And I just felt like that tall.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I don't talk about it. And I was like, I love that. That's kind of been my adopted thing forever.
I mean, we're all hurt. We're all like have something all the time.
Nothing drives me crazier than knowing like it's like Professor Johnny Faria, who's who runs Alliance San Diego, like been doing jiu-jitsu forever. You can only imagine the types of injuries that you develop over like decades and decades of jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And when you sit in the locker room with somebody who's been training jiu-jitsu for like 5 or 6 years and they're a purple belt and they're like, oh man, my knee, my shoulder, blah, blah, blah. And as somebody who's trained jiu-jitsu for like over a decade, you know, like there's no black belt that's like, oh, my neck's great. My spine feels awesome. Like you have to learn to stop complaining, you know? Yeah. So the person that's always like, hey man, careful. I got this injury, that injury or whatever. It's like, I don't know. I really like the principle of like, you take care of you. You know, if something's really, really bad, like you probably shouldn't just be open training. You should be working with somebody that you're really comfortable with.
I feel like we've got enough topic here right now because I want to complain about people who they're not really injured. They just use it as an excuse for why they're losing. Like that's the whole point. That's so annoying. It's like, oh, I'm just starting to take your back, and you're like, be careful my neck, and then we just have to reset now. Like I just like worked really hard to get that position, and it's like because your neck is hurt, I'm like I can switch to other things or just maintain this position. Like I don't know. Super annoying.
Which I think it leads to somebody else that you brought up earlier when we were talking about this a little bit, and you're like, I hate the person that's like gonna teach. And I feel like that goes right along with the like. We're rolling. Oh, I got this injury, and like, we got to stop now.
Or like we're rolling, and like you're doing like if you're going with somebody, it doesn't even like most of the time it's like you're rolling with a higher rank, and maybe it's like not like way higher than you, but like you know just barely outranks you, so things could be close. Anything could happen. I don't know, but then you start to like do really really good, and you're like you're gonna finish the position. Let's say I'm like passing and I'm like, I got this pass, like this is something I've been working on and I got it. And it's like they want to stop you right there because they know they're too late. They can't recover from the position you're about to, you're past their guard, but they like stop you and be like, oh, put your weight here, and like try and teach you through the rest of the move. It's like I think I was doing just fine because I was like obviously like in the position, doing the right things, passing your guard.
So I will say this, like, you might feel differently about this, but like, I feel like as a black belt now, especially like, you know, been a black belt for years, like kind of established, like this is not something that happens to me.
No, it
anymore.
doesn't really happen
But
that much.
For me, the biggest point of annoyance is it's like, when this would happen to me when I was training, I would always almost kind of like, you know, when it happens.
Yes.
To me, it would almost be like a compliment because
Yeah.
you'd be like, this person's ego can't handle it. That means I was doing really
true.
good. But now it's more frustrating to me, like either as an instructor or like a senior belt, like watching it happen to other people where I'm like, dude.
Or it's not even watching it happen. It's like just hearing it, like you're sparring. And it's like, even if somebody wants to be like, I think this goes along. It's like we're in the middle of rolling, and you're like, "That was really cool. Like you got to show me that." And it's like, well, yeah. Like let's just keep sparring though. I'm not showing you stuff right now. Like the time when we're sparring, it's like I'm not trying to teach you anything. I'm not trying to get taught anything. If I have questions, I'll come to you afterward. And if you have questions, don't bother me during the middle of the roll. We'll figure it out later. Or like there's a time to drill and there's a time to spar. Like if we're sparring, we're sparring.
So this like pivots into this gets granular at this point, but this is a different person to me, and this is the person that like wants to pretend like whoever it was that they were sparring or fighting with at the time was basically like the equivalency of Superman or something like that, where it could be the person that you're sparring with where like you catch them with the armbar and then they're like, oh man, like the way, I don't even know how you did that. Like,
yeah.
That was crazy how
like
you did
weird
that.
Complimentary.
You're like, you know how I went to mount and then armbarred from mount? And they're like, yeah, but there was something you did that I never felt that before. Like, if I had felt it before, I for sure would have been able to defend it.
I would have been able to stop it because
would have defended. I would have known. I'm like that good, but you got me with something I'd never seen before. Like,
yes,
and that extends to like, there's like one example I have in my mind, and it's like when you're at a seminar and somebody asks the guy that's teaching a seminar a question, and they want to be like, the person's like, well, you should just do this, and they're like, well, the person that I was fighting, I did that exactly the way you explained, and it didn't work. And then they're like, well, you know, maybe try this, and then they're like, nope, guy defended that too. What you got now?
Oh yes, that's really really bad. That's so annoying. But it's like I feel like that's just like your ego coming through. It's like you couldn't. There's no technique. Like my technique is so perfect that there's nothing that you could have done to me to actually beat me. Like you had to have been like making a mistake. Cash, you gotta stop, bro.
Our dog's like digging in the window.
He's just pawing at himself
because he sees his reflection in it, and he's like, I want to play with that guy. He looks fun.
It's true.
But the thing is like what that person wants is they want somebody to basically tell them like, oh, the thing that you're describing, it sounds like you were fighting somebody that did everything perfectly, and what you could have done is nothing else. So you getting tapped out from the back after you were down 12-0, it sounds like there's nothing else you could have done.
There's nothing you could have done.
Tell your friends and family that you obviously shared on Facebook beforehand that you were going to go do this, that what you fought was the equivalency of perfection.
Yes.
And there's nothing else you could have done. So, I don't know. That person is particularly annoying to me.
Yeah, that's kind of worse. But another one that is super annoying is the person that's like all about the weight cut. Like they act like they're just dying like throughout every training session on social media. They're just posting like, I just ate like 3 broccoli florets for my meal today, and like showing everybody their suffering and like how hard they're working, whatever. And then they either, there's one or two things that happen with this, okay? There's one or two things. They either weigh in like 4 pounds underweight, like, so it was completely
like
unnecessary, just
underweight.
like super like overcut, and then wind up being gassed the first match and lose that way. Or they're like telling you the whole time that they're doing all this, showing you on social media. Then you ask them about the weight. They're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm right on track. Everything's going great. And then they weigh in like 5 pounds over. And it's like, dude, like I thought you said you were like, like way underweight already this like last week. Like what happened? You're overweight? Like, oh, I don't know. I just must have had too much salt.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
Like magic. Like
5 pounds of salt like the night before. Why did you change your diet, man?
It's like divine intervention. What happened was God came to me in my sleep and gave me salt.
Like, I don't know, man. I went to bed like at 180. I woke up at 186. Don't know what happened.
What's funny is like if you want even a good person to lie to you, ask somebody you think is a good person that's like cutting weight for Jiu Jitsu tournament what they weigh. There's no way they tell you the truth.
They're not telling you very an accurate number.
And
ever.
I'm not saying that it's like something that makes somebody a liar. What happens is like when you start cutting weight and like when you're trying to hit a target weight, in your mind, what you weigh is what like your aspirational weight is.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's like if I were to like actually kind of like sweat out like 3 pounds today, that's what I would weigh.
Like what could I weigh? It's like, no. What do you weigh right now? And it's like,
what could I weigh?
It's like, but if you were to ask me right now what I weigh and you were to make me step on a scale, like I'm going to take all my clothes off, I'm going to pee, and what I'm away after I pee, and then like also like in the bathroom, maybe go for a jog in there or something. Like, yeah. Like what you're getting is a weight where they're like 5 pounds lighter than what they are.
It's true. Always add like at least 3 pounds.
I love whenever you have a training partner and like you're like, what weight do you do? And it's clearly that they're like 10 pounds, 15 pounds heavier than you. And then they say like the weight class lighter than you, where it's like, I'll train with somebody and I'll be like, what weight do you do? And they're like, like feather or light or middle. And you're like, what do you mean feather or light or middle? And then they're like, I don't know. Like, I was like, what do you weigh right now? And then they're like, I don't know, I weigh 160. And then you're like, 160? And they're like, yeah, like about 160. And like realistically, you're like, man, we're going to put you on a scale right now because you're 180 for sure. For sure, 180.
It's true. I mean, well, we had a friend that we would force to like step on a scale because I never trusted what he actually weighed.
AJ Cisco.
And he was always cutting weight for like MMA fights but he had a terrible diet. So like he would be like, oh yeah, I'm good on this. And I was like, nope, step on the scale. Like I would actually physically like brought a scale to him and made him weigh in front of me.
We would have friends over for like parties and fights and like to watch the UFC fights or whatever. And we'd like have snacks. We'd have like whatever. And he would eat it and we'd wait till he ate it. And then we'd force him onto a scale.
Yeah. It's true.
In front of everybody. That was like the best part.
That was pretty.
Shout out to AJ Cisco. Miss you, buddy.
I really like bullying people into doing things. It's a passion of mine.
Remember whenever you choked out Josh? Our buddy Josh for the first time. He'd never been choked out before, and he was like, I kind of want to be choked out. And his wife, she might have been his girlfriend at the time, got so worried about him. Shout out to Josh, uncle.
Oh my God. Yeah, but what were you telling that story for?
No, I was just like, you were talking about like.
I mean, he said he wanted to, so I just jumped on his back and started choking him. And then other people like held his hands, so I didn't know if he was actually trying to tap, and I did choke him unconscious.
That's another thing. This is not one we talked about, but the guy that like gets choked unconscious in practice, or the guy that basically is like willing to let you break his ankles or arms in practice. I don't know why. Like feet is one that like really is a pet peeve of mine, because it's like feet and knees is one of those things where it's like it takes a long time. So if you catch somebody in like a knee bar or a toe hold or something like that, and you physically feel something like go, like you feel a tear, like those are things where it's like right by your ear, you can kind of hear it. It drives me crazy whenever you hear somebody's ankle like tear or pop, and then they're just like, no, I'm fine. My feet are different than other people's feet. My tendons don't have nerves in them.
And then they have like a huge like golf ball size like swelling, and then like within the next 20 minutes, and they're limping around.
They stand
the
up and
academy.
like limp out of practice. They're
that
out
one
for
doesn't
like 3 months.
That doesn't bother me that bad. That's not like a huge pet peeve of mine. Like there are other types of pet peeves that I have, like somebody who's just dirty, like the real dirty gi, like don't wash your stuff. Like I think this happens a lot with like white belts more than anything.
Yeah.
Because like you just start out, maybe you only have 1 or 2 gis, but you're wearing a gi after using it. Like this is just not okay in any scenario. It's flat out disrespectful. And my nose won't handle it. And also, like, I don't want your infections and your dirty germs. So stop. Stop doing that.
I think one of the things that happens is like, and I think this is like a biological thing. I think this is real. But like you don't, after you have like a certain smell for a certain amount of time, like you don't recognize it. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is like that gi sits in their car or wherever.
I mean,
like,
we trained with a guy who literally, I used to watch him. He was not a small person, and he also sweat a ton. And you would watch him wad up his gi, throw it in his trunk of his car, and then come back later the day, pull the same gi out of his trunk and wear it. And it's still wet from earlier in the day and smells so bad. And I don't know, like maybe he did that for a week straight.
The worst is like if you're rolling with somebody and like it's the first roll, like there's no reason that your gi should be sweaty. Like there's those guys that like the second they do a forward roll, they're like drenched in sweat.
True.
But like it's the guy that's like gi's like wet from earlier. You can tell it's like kind of cold but wet. It's like when you touch that, you're like,
not cool, bro.
Dude, like we're gonna have a conversation after this.
I
feel like that's, like you said, it's kind of disrespectful. But it's also one of those things, like if you don't know, like I feel like enough people tell you at some point, like it's not a mistake that should be repeated. If that makes sense, because usually it happens once, and like there's like 3 different people that are like waiting for you at the door, ready to be like, "Hey, man, like you smell terrible."
Yeah, but is that worse than the guy who has like was up all night, like set like 10 alarms to make sure that they were there the minute that the newest, best overpriced gi is dropping, you know, so they get it and they have this limited edition, whatever, but they don't train. You see them once a year and they always have a brand new gi, which is worse.
Cut right here. I'll be right back.
Okay. Cash, it's okay. He's coming.
That was super fast.
Not that fast. I feel like we've been talking for a long time.
How long were we going?
I don't know. How do we tell?
22 minutes.
Okay.
Our first one was 25, so we're about there.
Okay.
And cut back in.
Which one? Which one do you think?
That guy sucks. I mean, here's the thing: is I feel like that guy.
He's probably a nice guy. He's just a douchebag.
The thing is, it's the same guy that's always showing up to practice, and you're like, "Oh man, I haven't seen that guy in a while." And then he's like, "No, I've been here. And then the gi is like all crisp, and it's like the nicest, newest gi, and it's like a crisp new, like whatever belt that he's got. It's usually blue. He'll sit there and he'll like never be at practice once a week, maybe tops. And then he'll roll like twice. He'll get destroyed because he's not training.
And then also be gassed out.
Yes. And then he'll sit on the sidelines and then he'll want to like.
He's going to ask you about like these latest like things that he saw on YouTube. And he's like, what about this move?
You're like, what do you think about what John Danaher said about like the thing that Craig Jones does from Butterfly Garden? You're like, I don't know, man. Like, when
what
was
did
that?
he say?
Like, what did he say? And he's like,
what position?
And he's like, tries to show you or whatever. You're like, I don't think that's right. Like, you said Butterfly Garden. It looks like you're on top and bottom. Somehow you're bottom half on top. Like, I don't know how that happened. They're like, yeah, I don't know. I got the DVD. I got to review it. To me, whenever you hear about like DVD sales or like, I don't know, DVD is not a thing. It's like streaming sales or whatever.
They are.
I feel like the guy that's buying those gis is also buying like 3 streams. Like he bought like 2 of the same one.
He has a subscription to every person that has a thing out there. Like everyone. He's spending like probably dropping over $1,000 on Jiu Jitsu just like between memberships, subscriptions and gis a month. He's doing that, but he's training probably 3 times a month.
And then you like run into that. You see that guy like out someplace, and you're like, "Hey man, where you been?" And then he's like, "Oh, you know, like I sprained my ankle, so I've been out for a year and a half." It's like, you sprained your ankle? Like, man, you could tape that. You can come train. He's like, "Nah, not this ankle sprain. the doctor says it's the worst they've ever seen.
It always is way worse than anything that you've probably ever seen or heard of.
That's the thing too, is like you always give people these reasons why, like there, you know what it's like if you're hurt, if you know whatever's going on in life, you want to get to the academy even if you can't train or whatever. So whenever somebody like gives you like 10 stories as to like why they're not there or like why they didn't just show up and just stop by or something like that, you're always just kind of pretty skeptical.
Yeah. Another one, though, I just remember that we were talking about earlier is a guy who always is like, hey, man, can we just flow this round? Or like, can we just go light? And then the moment you slap hands, they're just like full force, like come at you like a tornado. And like, it's going so hard. But then you'll get done. You have to like, you're behind now. So you have to start matching that intensity just to maintain this roll. And you roll to their level. But then you get done rolling. And they're like, man, I thought we were just going to go light. You just kept pushing the pace. It's like, no, I was just matching you.
Totally. So me personally, like I have no ego whenever I train, like to the point of fault. To where like I will.
This is true. Actually, I get annoyed with him sometimes for being too nice.
Like I always feel like I'm trying to make sure that I don't overuse my athletic attributes to the point to where I will basically just like not use them at all. And so what's frustrating to me is whenever I'll train with them and we'll even be like flowing or going light or whatever, and like it'll get like. I match your intensity, like you said.
Yeah.
Like I let you choose your own adventure, and like if it's usually other black belts.
Unless you're like getting ready for a tournament, then you're just everybody's knows that. But when we're just like rolling casually and having fun.
But if somebody ever tells me like, oh well, I can't go light with you because we just start going too fast or whatever, it's like no, like your ego can't handle like the give and take. Like my ego can handle give and take. Like.
Yeah. Some people, I think some people really just don't understand how to flow roll. Like, I think there's a special skill that comes along with that. And, like, you have to be at a certain level to be able to do that. But I'm not even we're like, that's not even the thing. Like, we're not talking about people who can't flow roll. It's the people who just, like, say they want to or say they want to go light for whatever reason. And then it's, like, instantly, like, they're coming at you, like, all ham and whatnot.
The thing is that person will also do something else, and this may not be a thing for you, but it's a thing for me because it's happened to me before. Because especially now, whenever I train, like I'm usually trying to work specifically. Like I don't have time to just like mess around anymore. Yeah. Like when I train, I want to train. Whenever you get somebody and you're like, hey, you want to train? They're like, yeah, let's train. So you like go and you're like, the round's getting ready to start, and they're like, hey, by the way, I'm coming back from an injury, and like we could just go like 20%, that'd be great. And you're like,
yeah.
Can I switch? Yeah. Can I just like switch partners now? Like,
yeah.
I'm always just, of course you're gonna be like, yeah, sure, but it's like, I mean, I asked you, like, can we roll?
Yeah.
It would have been one thing if you were like, I'm kind of hurt right now, and you're like, that's cool, like whatever, and you could just get whatever partner you wanted. But they were like, yeah, let's roll, and then like, after the fact, they're like, by the way, like. I need you to, like, I just had spinal reconstruction surgery. And you're like, what? How's that even a thing? And then they're like, yeah, none of my spine. Like, I just had my entire spine replaced. The whole thing. The whole thing.
It's actually like a new surgery that they started doing. So
yeah, so
probably never
don't
heard
expect me to
it.
win any tournaments anytime soon. And if I don't, it's mainly just because of my spine, or the other person was, like, invincible.
It's true.
So I don't know. Like if there's one, would you say there's like one of those people that is particularly like worse to you than any others?
I think the thing that like as of right now that gets on my nerves, I would just say that my biggest pet peeve is the person who's like talking to you when you're rolling, like trying to explain something or just like talking to you, distracting you. It's like, no, I want to spar. Like I don't want to talk right now. I like to talk. I like to have a good conversation or like discuss techniques and things like that, but not when I'm rolling. Shut your mouth.
Hey, man, that's cool. Hey, well, how's coronavirus stuff? It's crazy, right? And you're like, I don't know, man. Like, we're training right now. And the worst is like whenever you start a conversation with somebody and you're talking to them and then you like get into a better position, like as you're talking, you're like, well, I feel like I need to stop talking now because I feel like if I take a better position now, it's because like we're talking. It's like weird now. Like I need you to shut up so I can continue beating you.
Yes, exactly. What about you? What's your like biggest pet peeve?
I would say, honestly, it's like there's not one that sticks out to me more than others. I would say like they all sort of stem from a really similar place, which is like this
weak ego.
Yeah, and like I think
Or
ego. I
Yeah.
think like honestly, like an ego is something that can actually help you a lot in jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
Like I would say that a lot of women in particular, like the reason why I see them not get better sometimes is because they don't have enough of an ego.
Yeah.
Where it's like if I've learned a technique sometimes is because it's like Jerry's like keeps stuff in my Delahiva hook or whatever it is. And you want to like learn something specifically because it's like something keeps happening to you and it's like whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times women are like, that's not as big of a deal to me. Like not all, but like I would just say like I see that as more of a problem for them sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's where the ego can help you. Now, the ego becomes a problem whenever you're like, I don't even want to participate or I need an excuse. Like I need something exterior to all of this to like basically give me a reason to not participate to some degree or like try my hardest.
Yeah. I get that. I agree with that.
The most frustrating thing for me in jiu-jitsu is to ever feel like I didn't try my hardest and to not do well.
I just don't like making mistakes, so I get really mad about it. And I think people think I'm mad at them, and I'm like, no.
And I think
I'm mad at me.
I think that's like one of the things jiu-jitsu teaches you too is like you got to get over that. Like, and the people that can't, like they don't make it. Like they don't make it past day one in a lot of cases.
It's true.
Because no one's good at it right off the bat.
No.
So if you're one of these people and you're like, that's me, it's okay. You can get better. Like you don't have to be that person forever.
You don't.
We've probably all been one of those people at some point.
We're here to help you. That's what we're saying.
We've all been the smelly person accidentally. Like even if you wash your gi, you got that one gi.
I mean, there's some gis that I'm like, I like put on and I'm like, they don't smell bad, but then I like start sweating. I'm like, oh, it smells like BO. I don't, ugh.
There's some gis you got to throw away.
It's true.
You just like got to retire it because it smells. And I think that's it. We'll leave it on like sometimes you got to retire a gi because it smells.
Sometimes you do. This is facts.
And that's it because
yes.
I'm surprised Cash like held up.
He's going nuts right now. He's been like kind of got the zoomies.
What's weird is Toast is out.
I know.
That's our other Shiba Inu. So,
Toast wants food. That's why.
Shout out to Shiba Inus. Shout out to Exotic Joe. And we'll leave that at that. Thanks for joining once again.
Thanks.
On whatever we're going to call this.
Deuces.